Well, hello everybody. My name is John, and welcome to Community Group Week. I love these weeks. So we're in a rhythm this fall where we are meeting twice a month for live services, and then twice a month for these community group weeks. And these community group weeks are great for so many reasons. But one of the things that we say every single time we get together is that church is not a building, and church is not an organization, and it's not a church service. And what's great about these weeks is it's a good reminder of that, because most of you are not meeting in a church building. You're meeting in a home or somewhere else, and none of you are participating in like a normal church service. But you are a part of something that is all about helping you to take next steps to love Jesus, each other, and the world. And that's the whole reason why you have hopefully gathered with a few other people today and watching this, is because you want to take next steps, and that is awesome. So way to go, you. So we want to start, as we do every community group week, just getting to know the people around you. And so go around and share these three things. Number one, what is it that you are grateful for? Especially we're getting ready to go into Thanksgiving this week and thinking about gratefulness and thankfulness. And so what's something that you were really thankful for? And then what's something that has been really challenging? Or maybe as you look forward to Thanksgiving over the next couple days, what's something that's going to be pretty challenging or stressful for you? And then how's it been going with what we talked about last week? We talked about the idea of divorce. We talked about the idea of marriage, and just what it looks like to really just honor the commitments in our life. And so how has that played out? If you did an I will statement on the last time we got together, what have you been able to do with that? So take some time and discuss those three questions with the folks in your group. All right. Well, here's what we're going to talk about today. We've been going through the Sermon on the Mount, this famous sermon that Jesus did. And today we are in Matthew 5:33 through 37. And we're going to talk about the idea of not lying, and more importantly, about telling the truth no matter what. So as we get started, let me ask you, how do you do with telling the truth? How honest of a person are you? When other people think about you, do they think of you as someone who is just a person, a man or woman of your word? Are you someone of integrity? If you say something, people are like, oh, if they said it, then that's definitely the way it is. And kind of the context of what Jesus is going to be talking about today is he's going to talk about the idea of saying something is true, and then saying it in the form of a vow or an oath, which is kind of the way of saying, like, okay, I'm going to make a promise to you, but like I'm going to put like some extra like weight behind it. So what they would do in that day is they would say, like, okay, I promise, and I promise to you based off of the city of Jerusalem, or I promise to you based off of the temple, or I promise to you based off of the law. And they would kind of add this like extra thing behind it. And we still do the same thing. I mean, we might say, like, I promise, hand to the Bible, or I promise, on my iPhone, or I promise on my mother's grave, which I don't even really know what that means. But we kind of are putting this extra weight behind the promise. And why do we do that? Well, I think what Jesus is going to say today is, well, part of why we do that is because we feel like we have to, because our normal truth, people don't really believe that. So we have to put like an extra oomph behind it. So maybe you struggle with losing your anger. We talked about anger a few weeks ago. And so maybe you really lose it, and then you have a moment where you're like, okay, I'm sorry I lost my anger. Okay, but I'm not gonna yell like that anymore. I promise. This time I'm really serious. Or maybe you struggle with just getting real stressed out at the holidays, and you just overpack your schedule. And you've told yourself, or you've told your family, okay, this year I promise I'm not gonna do that again. Or maybe you just come home late all the time. You're like, okay, I'm so sorry I was late, but like, okay, it's not gonna happen again. Like this time, like I'm really, really serious. And when you say that, people are like, oh, okay, well, of course, they're gonna like, they're making a promise that they're like, okay, like I understand you like made like I'm not gonna do it again, but like, is everyone around you be like, come on, like we've seen this song and dance before. Like you make these big promises, and then a couple days later, it just kind of goes back on itself. And we're just saying is maybe we need to get to the point where we don't have to make these big promises, because just who we are and what we say is just the absolute truth. Other thing I want you to think about as you go into your discussion today. So this is in the context of the Sermon on the Mount, and we've been in this for a long time. So some of you might remember way back in the spring, we were going through the idea of the Beatitudes, kind of the first part of the sermon, and it's these attitudes of this is the way that people who are following Jesus in this new countercultural way are just going to be. And he talked about some very countercultural ways of, he started off by saying that we're going to be poor in spirit, that we're going to be people who mourn, that we're going to be people that are meek. And part of the idea behind all those, we talked about this back in the spring, is that we are people who can admit when there's a problem. We can admit when things are not okay. Some of you might remember, I think it was on the Meek Week, I did a message talking about that, and I was sitting in the basement of this building and talking about the idea that in a lot of churches, they have AA meetings in basements of churches. And so there's kind of like the downstairs people when they're sitting in circles saying, hey, the truth about me is like, I am an alcoholic. Hi, my name's John. I'm an alcoholic. And then upstairs, there's a lot of people, and not true in every church, but in a lot of times, people will come in and like they have like their Sunday clothes on and they look good and they're pretending that they have their lives all together when in fact, they're really not being that honest. And one of the things that is so convicting to me about telling the truth, and maybe something that you guys can bring up into your discussion, is just, are you able to tell the truth about yourself no matter what? And so maybe in those examples I shared, maybe it's a matter of saying like, okay, yeah, I was really angry today and I did lose my cool, but maybe it's not just enough for me to like promise that tomorrow's going to be different. I'm just going to like try to, maybe part of what I need to do is be honest and admit like, yeah, I was angry today. And the truth is that like, I think I actually have an anger problem. And so there's a good chance I'm probably actually going to get angry again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. This is going to be a reoccurring cycle until I acknowledge I have a problem and start to work on that. I'm probably going to get busy and stressed again at the holidays. I'm probably going to be late again. I'm probably going to go into money problems again. I'm probably going to lust again. I'm probably going to struggle with whatever it is that I was continuing to struggle with until I'm truthful, maybe even truthful with some other people and say, hey, this is a problem, and to be meek, to be poor in spirit, to mourn even about it, and then start to really address the issue so that you can start to correct it. And can we be a group of people that we are just honest with ourselves, that who we say we are, who we present that we are, what we say yes to, what we say no to, just we are just people of integrity. And so encourage you to talk about all that. And you guys will write, and I will stay, I'm going to talk about that in a second. But one of the things that I really encourage you to do is to just keep track of this conversation over the next couple of days. I think especially leading into Thanksgiving. And there will be moments over the next few days for me, and I'm sure for you, where you will be tempted to want to shade the truth, to promise something that is just, over that maybe you can't fulfill, to say yes to something that you should say no to say no to something that you should say yes to. There'll be a moment over the next few days, maybe many moments, where you are tempted to lie, shade the truth, to not really be a person of integrity. And in that moment, can we be people that can tell the truth no matter what? So here's what you're going to do. Have someone read the text today, Matthew 5:33 through 37, and then discuss these questions. What jumps out to you? What's interesting about it? What do you like? What do you not like? What does that tell us about God? What does that piece of scripture tell us about God? What's Jesus trying to tell us? What does it tell us about ourselves, about our tendencies, about just kind of what human beings are like, what I am like, what you are like? And then answer these questions. What would it look like if you were to take that teaching of Scripture super seriously over the next couple of days? As you're shopping, as you're driving for Thanksgiving, as you're hosting people for Thanksgiving, what would it look like if you were to take this super seriously this week? and then maybe write an I will statement based off of what we just talked about. I will do, fill in the blank. And then is there anyone else that you could share this with? Is there anyone else that you think, man, I think they could really benefit from hearing these really important words of Jesus? And take time to share that with them. So discuss with your group, and let's together become people of more integrity. See you guys soon. Bye.